So today's topic of discussion is breeding of poultry. So genes are the basic unit of inheritance and arranged linearly on the chromosome. Genes constitute the link between parent and offspring and passage from one generation to next generation through gamete, that is from ova or sperm. There are 39 pairs of chromosomes in chicken, and in case of ducks, there are 40 pairs of chromosomes. The influence of environment on genotype vary greatly depending upon the character. The influence of environment on genotype vary greatly depending on the character, that is egg production, which is influenced by environment but not by cum type. There are generally two types of character, that is traits. First is qualitative traits. The character list influenced by environment and governed by one or more pair of genes and showing discontinuous variation. Just for example, cum type, plumage pattern, plumage color, sang color. And secondly, quantitative character or polygenic character or polygenic traits. The traits showing continuous variation due to environmental effect, and that means affected, influenced by a greater degree by environment and can be measured. Example of quantitative characters are egg production, egg weight, body weight, viability, livability, fertility, and hatchability. And it is governed by more than one pair of genes. Third is sex-linked characters, and those characters which are present in chromosome, sex chromosome, and so its effect particularly in one sex, that is maybe in male or maybe in female. For example, rapid or slow feeding, barring and non-barring. That's just in case plymouth rock. Full feathering or neck, that is the example of neck, normal and dwarf body. A hen can transmit her sex-linked character to her son, not to her daughter, because in case of human being, the sequence of chromosome is, sequence means genotype, just whatever you call it, that is XX in male, female, and XY in male. But in case of chicken, male is just like XY and XX. Male is XX and female is XY. And there is different two types of chromosome. So, in sex-linked character is transmitted from female to their son only, not to their daughter. But a male, and that is cock, can transmit the character to both his son and daughter. Next is sex-linked limited traits, and expressed in only one sex, that is egg production in female or semen production in male, just like this. Next is selection in poultry. There are three types of selection. Majorly, you can say there are two types. That is, selection is the process of selecting the best of the parent for next generation, producing offspring for next generation. There are two methods. First is individual or mass selection, and second is family selection. So what is individual selection? It is based on the performance of individual birds, and the birds are selected on the basis of their individual performance. It is very effective system of improvement of traits which are highly heritable and expressed in both sex, both in male and female. Second is family selection. In family selection, the entire group of individuals is either selected or rejected as a whole based on their average performance of the group. Average performance of individuals in that group. This selection is practiced for trait of low heritability and has two phases. What are two phases? Progeny testing and shape testing. What is progeny testing? Progeny testing attempts to evaluate animals on the basis of performance of their progeny. Yani, the parents are selected on the basis of performance of their offsprings. That is progeny testing. And in second is shape testing. Shape testing means the individual is selected on the performance of their sheeps. Means a step sister, a step brother, a step son, a step daughter, just like this. Sheep testing is to overcome the problems of time consuming in the progeny testing, because in progeny testing you have to produce the individual have to produce so many offsprings so that their performance can be evaluated, and evaluation of their performance, the parents are selected or not selected. So that is the progeny testing. But in sheep testing we see the performance of their collateral sheeps, that is a step brother, a step sister, a step daughter, a step son. It is why it is sheep testing is done. It is required to overcome the problem of time consuming in progeny testing, because when we have to see the performance of progeny, it takes a long time. So breeders largely use sheep testing. In sheep testing, first selection based on the mean performance of sheep kept in group of unrelated individual, and second selection based on mean performance of sheep kept in family group. And on the both, that is on the individual basis, performance of individual sheep or individuals of groups of individuals of a family group, a particular group performance, average performance. The most successful breeding program will include both individual selection and family selection, and both selection will give better result. Next is mating system. There are so many types of mating system, that is random mating. And in random mating, any individual of one sex has given equal chances of mating with any other individual of opposite sex in the population. Yani given equal chance of male or female for mating. It is the most common method of selection because it results in inbreeding. Next is positive assorting mating, and mating of like to like. When it is practiced among the selected individual, the response is usually greater than the random mating, but there is more chance of inbreeding in long term. Next is inbreeding, and mating of individual among the closely related of average of the population. It does not change the gene frequency, and inbreeding does not change the gene frequency, but increase the frequency of homozygotes at the cost of heterozygotes. Heterozygotes means heterozygosity and homozygosity. Inbreeding generally results into lower fertility and hatchability, increased mortality, delayed maturity, slow growth rate, reduced egg production, increased frequency of defects, because due to homozygosity there is more chance of defects. Inbreeding is used for development of commercial lines. Inbreeding is generally used for development of commercial lines. Next is outbreeding, and mating among unrelated individuals of average of the population. The main purpose of outbreeding to overcome the deleterious effect of inbreeding, that is homozygosity. In inbreeding, there is more chance of heterozygosity. There are so many types of mating of individuals among the same breed but unrelated. And different breeds, mating between different breeds. Strain crossing, mating between different strains. In cross, that is mating of inbred lines of same breed. In crossbred, any crossing of inbred lines of different breeds. Grading up, any mating of improved male and well recognized male with nondescript females. And top crossing and inbred males of one line, mating of inbred males of one line with females of outbred population, that is called top crossing. So these are the examples of outbreeding, that is crossbreeding, strain crossing, in crossbred, grading up, and top crossing. Next, method of mating. How can male and females are mated? That is, there are three types of mating. First is flock mating, and a number of males and females are bred together. That is flock mating. And it is just type of random mating. And if in a pen there are some, just for example, there are 10 or 15 females, we give 5 and 6 males or 10 males, then that is the flock mating. In flock mating, we don't know that which male is mated with which female. So pairy records are not maintained in flock mating. But in case of pen mating, that is one male is mated with different female. So there is more chance of record of pedigree record. Third is artificial insemination. It is carried out for the birds housed in cage. That is when cage. This is also case of cage breeding, especially in case of layers, not in case of broilers, especially in case of layers, that is in breeder flock. Next is culling of poultry. Culling means removal of uneconomical and diseased bird from the flock, that is called culling. Culling is the natural phenomenon that there will some birds which will not grow well and ultimately will become poor layers and uneconomic. When we kept 500, 1000 females, then some females are not grow well or may not grow well. So in that, for economic point of view, they reach the age of maturity very late, which is not economical. Culling should be done during night hour. Culling should be, the birds should be culled during night hour to avoid undue stress of birds due to excitement or handling. So culling should always be done at night hour, not during day hour. So what are the criteria for culling? First, condition of bird. We see the condition of birds, and condition includes health of the bird, such as tight feathering with tail and wing feather, bright expression, alertness. The lack of condition exhibited by the appearance of comb and eye, that is bleached comb, sunken eye, dull eye, that is bird showing pale and shrunken comb, emaciated face, thin breast, drooping wings, and tail feathers should be culled. So on the basis of appearance of birds, we can do culling process. Especially culling is done in case of layer. not in boiler, because boiler are reared for only short period, any 5 and 6 weeks, for 5 and 6 weeks, but the layers are reared for 1.5 years. So, and culling is especially practiced in layer. So characteristic of a good layer and poor layer. And what is the characteristic of good layer and poor layer? And head and nature. Head should be strong, square, broad at the top, all part well proportionate, feminine in female and masculine in male. Male should be just like male, aggressive, large body size. Poor layer, the head should be coarse, crop-headed, narrow tendency to masculine in female and femininity in male. Comb and wattle, full, red, waxy, and bark. In poor layer, dry, scaly, and cold. Beak in good layer should be short, solid, and well curved for easy feeding. But in case of poor layer, it is narrow, very long, thin, sharp, and pointed. Earlobes in good layer should be full, waxy, colored as per breed specification. The breed which are producing brown cell egg should be colored. That is red earlobe, and the breeds which are producing white cell egg should be pink or whitish earlobe. In case of poor layer, it should be shrunken, wrinkled, off color than the breed. Eye in good layer should be bright, alert, and well set. In poor layer, dull and sleepy. Earlobes in good layer, that is bleached, because the color, the pigment is extracted, which go in egg. That should be bleached. Thin and flat bleached. In poor layer, it should be yellow, because they are producing less number of eggs, and there is minimum chance of transfer of yellow pigment, xanthophyll, from the body of hen to the eggs. Neck should be stocky, rather short. In poor layer, long and thin. Body should be capacious, broad, and straight. In poor layer, it should be limited capacity, narrow but not straight. Back should be deep and straight. In good layer, in poor layer, is barrel shaped or shallow. Pubic bone should be wide apart. In good layer, thin, soft, malleable, and distance between pubic bone should be more than 2 to 3 fingers. But in case of poor layer, the close to each other, thick and stiff, distance between less than 2 to 3 fingers. Distance between keel and pubic bone more than 4 to 5 fingers in good layer, and less than 2 to 3 fingers in poor layer. Skin of good layer should be thin, soft, oily, and silky. In poor layer, thick, dry rub, underlaid with fat. Abdomen should be large, soft and moist, and free from fat in good layer. A small, hard, and deposition of fat in poor layer. Vent for especially females should be large, oval, and moist. But in case of poor layer, it should be a small, dry, and round. Plumage and body covering that is tight, compact, and color specific of breed. In poor layer, it should be loose, scattered of color from the breed. Legs should be thin, soft, and curved at back. But in case of poor layer, it should be thick, hard, and rounded at the back. Time of molting, the good layer should be late molter, and rejuvenation of feeder should be quick. And in case of poor layer, it should be early and before 72 weeks of age, and it should be rejuvenation and reoccurring of feeder, regrowth of feeder should be very slow. Second is molting pattern. And second basis of culling is molting pattern. Molting is a natural physiological process to shed old feeders with new feeders at the end of first year of laying. That is at the end of first laying, every laying cycle, and laying cycle is of 1 year and 52 weeks. Its early molters before 72 weeks are usually poor layers. Such birds start molting at early age and take unusually long time to complete molting, and more than 24 weeks to complete the molting. And often these birds stop laying during molting period. So there is no egg production during molting period. They said only on primary feeders complete the molting quickly by shedding 2 or more primary feeders together and complete the molting within 4 to 8 weeks period. That is molting. Next is depigmentation, means bleaching. Abundance of yellow pigment in the different parts of body of the pullet. The pigmentations occur due to deposition of carotenoid pigment, mainly xanthophyll, which comes from the feed. And as the pullets come in egg production, these pigments are transferred from the body of pullet to the egg. That is why depigmentation occurs. The depigmentation in good layer follows a particular pattern depending upon the blood circulation. Generally, it starts from the vein. First, it starts from vein, and lastly from the feet, that is sac. The order in which depigmentation starts first from vein, then eye-ring, then earlobe, then beak, first from the base, then to the tips, and lastly sac, first at the front, then at the rear side and in back side of the leg. And next basis is sexual maturity. Good layers mature earlier within 18 to 20 weeks. And the birds which mature after 22 weeks must be culled because it will produce less number of eggs per cycle. Okay, so these are all about breeding, selection, and culling of poultry. Okay. Anybody have any question?
No, sir.
Okay.